You are watching Tomorrowpictures.TV.
Where was I?
The rumors.
Oh, I came out and I was afraid of the rumors. The thing is that I was raised by my stepmother and her 5 kids. So she really wasn't my mother. Basically it was my father's mother that raised me. So, though she pretended to be my mother, I always knew that there was a difference. And the one thing that happened was that I did not want my grandmother to find out. And the first thing that she had done was went and told my grandmother. And, that kind of broke her heart. And I couldn't stand being around that because of that situation. And I decided that if I was going to be miserable, I'd rather be miserable in a place I was happy. So I moved back to New York City.
And so my second trip, I knew what to expect as far as the living conditions were. And I knew Haiti might be a little more extreme, but I was prepared for it. And I just felt an overwhelming, urgency to go when I found out about this medical mission. And yes, my family and friends thought I was crazy after I had a difficult time the first time, but they were very supportive and knew that it was life-changing for me. And so I found the same thing in Haiti, that people, there's so much joy. It's maybe because they don't realize what they're missing, or that they just don't have the distractions that we have, but they're really focused on each other, and especially the children. And I spent most of my time with the children in Haiti. I was not a medical professional, so I was not able to sit and diagnose and prescribe medication for them. So I spent most of my time playing with the children, and we would be in the villages and children would just come running, and a lot of times they would be completely naked because they just don't have clothes, and that's kind of shocking for us being from this country to see that. Children running around with no clothes on, or maybe just a top or a bottom, no shoes, and the extreme heat and just dirt and rocks in the homes. Of course they slept on the dirt and they didn't know when their next meal might be, so they may go days without eating. And the reality, the lack of clean water, that someone from the family would have to walk a long ways to get water from a somewhat clean water source, not what we would consider clean. And they would bring back a bucket and sit it in front of the house, and you would see a grown woman completely naked bathing in the water, and other neighbors coming and bathing in the same water, and the children as well.
And you sort of fall into 2 categories of person of color, African American and Latino American as well. That's a unique set of circumstances. That's an interesting, mix of person that people don't really think about too much, because they just sort of group those 2 cultures separately. But you sort of you have both. You have characteristics of both. You have friends in both.
Yes.
You have belief systems that are anchored in both as well. What's that like?
It's definitely interesting. I think a lot of the Latino side has come from boxing and being involved within that, as opposed to like my blackness, in which something I generally self-identify as more, because that's more on my dad's side that I essentially was supposed to be raised with, but not necessarily wasn't, but that's also my family tries to expose me more to. So I think it's also just an example of this city. Black and Latinos are very close-knit. Even if sometimes they don't realize it and they fight, like our struggles are very embedded. So I think it's really going to become more commonplace, I hope, and especially in LA, I think is more of an example of our diversity here.
All of them were dangerous, but once again, whether it was Desert Storm, when we were there for 100 days or thereabouts or something like that. But the one thing I remember about Iraq specifically is I've never been to northern Iraq. I've never been to that part of Southeast Asia, and it was. I just remember the defining moment for me was incidentally when I look back before we took off. We took off from Fort Stewart, and I remember looking back at my wife at the time, and I remember looking at her face, and I'd never seen that before. I'd never seen that distance. I saw people crying. It was a very sad time, and I think that's when I knew, like I said, the 4 years of Iraq and Afghanistan was without a doubt the most defining moment of my career.
Talk about boxing and what the sport means to you.
Boxing means everything to me. I really look at boxing as it's actually been my gateway to my queer identity and to my activism in the community and even to my own masculinity. It all came through boxing, which I know sounds odd for most people who really think of boxing as a really binaristic, just male-dominated sport, but it really helped me to become comfortable with my own masculine identity, to actively shape it through physical fitness, and then to have the confidence to own my identity at the same time. It also gave me access to a lot of different training that I wouldn't have experienced. It allowed me to travel the world, and this has allowed me to have certain privileges that I can use and help other people in my community.
You are watching Tomorrowpictures.TV.